All right, everybody, welcome back to yet another tournament race. This is game number 3, picking up where we left off with the Swarm versus Superts. It is now 1-1 in the set. Superts had lost the most recent race. Swarm had won. So because of that, Superts opts to counterpick Nimble. Nimble as the preset counterpick here. And it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the tournament race here. So Nimble is very powerful tournament preset. The idea behind it is you start with Duplicator, Soul of Bat, Mana Prisms, Buffalo Stars, Leapstone, Gravity Boots, a bunch of really powerful stuff at the very, very beginning. And it's basically all gas from the start. You get all of the movement options available to you. The only thing that is like not amazing at the very start is your magic, actually. You have a limited amount of magic, and both players actually ended with the cross in their inventory, which is really, really important. The cross in your inventory does let you start with 5 extra MP. Because of that, that's basically almost enough for an entire Wing Smash. The Wing Smash does cost 8. Super's actually not with like a fantastic overall prologue, didn't get great damage stacks, but because of that extra 5 MP, that's still good enough, you know? Missing out on that 5 extra MP could be a death sentence in Nimble, the Nimble preset. So Swarm with a slight lead. And another thing that's really important to know about Nimble is at the very beginning of the game, you can just check this location, which is pretty good. Oh, there's a Garnet there. Yeah, probably worth grabbing. You don't know what's in the shop. The only thing that you really need to do is not die, for one. Your defenses are very low because of starting with the Duplicator equip. The only other thing that you need to worry about is like damage for late game. So you have 1 Buffalo Star, and that's enough to solo most of the game. But Dracula, for example, is a lot slower to fight with only 1 Buffalo Star. Shaft, Galamoth. Like there's a lot of... Oh, Swarm is able to do Death Skip. Forgot to mention that part. What is Superts doing? Wing smashing the wrong way? Uh-oh. He might be a little bit frazzled right now. Superts, be careful. You need to have mana to do this Death Skip here. Sets it up. 1 Wing Smash is enough. Okay, they both get Death Skip. But Swarm with a pretty sizable lead, I would say. We're looking at like, I don't know, at least a few seconds, right? Like 10, 15 seconds. And, ooh, Rib of Vlad. First random Vlad found for these players. Spike Breaker, also the starting relic. Very interesting. Another thing that's important to note about Nimble is, if I do remember correctly, the complexity minimum is a range, right? It's like 4 to 6. Am I remembering that correctly? 6 to 8. Sorry. I knew it was a range. I forgot the exact range. Thank you, Matthias. It is 6 to 8. So because of that, there is still complexity that these players have to worry about. Very unlikely that it gets to 8 because they started with so much progression. They start with Flight immediately. And starting with Flight does limit the types of progression that are even available. So things that could lead to progression is like Jewel of Open, Mist, Holy Glasses, the 2 Rings, Merman Statue, stuff like that. I think that's everything, actually. Those are all the progression items that are left, right? So because of that, I don't think 8 is possible, right? Am I mistaken? I think 6 is the max. Like, just based off of the numbers, right? Or am I must be mistaken somewhere. Like, how would you even get to 8? Like, there's not enough progression items, right? The only progression items that exist is Mist, Jewel of Open, Mermaid Statue, the Rings, and Glasses. And I guess the Vlad Relic. Like, how do you get to 8? At most, I'm seeing 6. Oh, yeah, Echo. I forgot Echo is also... Echo is a progression item because that's how you're expected to get to Spikebreaker. Okay, that makes sense. Then, yeah, you can get to 8. If it is 8 complexity, then it's literally every progression item is required in logic. That makes sense. Dude, Swarm has a massive lead here. We can talk about it, right? Swarm with just a freaking massive lead. I feel like trying to out-nimble Swarm might have been just kind of a inting, right? Like, this feels like you're not playing to your strengths in that regard. Like, Swarm is a top any percent speedrunner, and, like, you basically have any percent plus movement. So I feel like it's a little weird. Superds was the one that counterpicked Nimble, yeah. Yeah, Swarm banned Lycanthrope. Maybe that's what Superds wanted to pick. And then after Lycanthrope was banned, he felt like he didn't have anything left. Because this happened a few days ago. I'm trying to remember, what presets have they raced already? I wish I remembered the presets, because Superds can't pick a preset that he won with. They've done Safe and Warlock. So I guess the only other option would be like Guarded OG. Or he'd have to go back to a preset that he already lost with. So yeah, he was basically kind of picking between this and Guarded OG. I feel like Guarded OG is a better pick, personally. Because, like, Swarm has, like, 6 minutes to get to All Rocks. Superds is probably, like, almost a full minute behind at this point. 6 minutes in. We're seeing the power of the Buffalo Star and the Duplicator at work here. Superds also relatively low HP. He's going to have to be careful. At any moment, you can just kind of die if you're not careful and you get comboed. All Rocks with the jump at the very end. Wasting a little bit of time. The only way, I think, to beat Swarm and Nimble in this scenario is you got to go for some crazy gambles. Because 44, 45, yeah, 45 seconds behind Swarm already. Swarm just finished the boss fight and is leaving. Superds is, fighting the boss right now. Yeah, letting Swarm play Nimble is kind of like this. I feel like would be a counter pick that he would go with. Ooh, Jewel of Open found. Okay, so that's layer, like that's the first relic acquired. That leads to progression. So I think it's pretty fair to say that most seeds will end up being complexity 6. So counting to 6 sounds good here. Now the question is, with only one random Vlad in your inventory, do you decide to chase complexity or do you do as many checks as possible? To be fair, they're doing the clockwise route right now, which is kind of standard. In Nimble, at the very start, you kind of have like a introductory route that's kind of laid out for you, which is the route that they're taking, which is the Alchemy Lab checks, Spirit Orb, Form of Mist check in the Coliseum, then go to Alrox's quarters. You leave Alrox's quarters, you go to the chapel, and then from the chapel, you get to Castle Keep. Castle Keep has 3 checks. So in a matter of like 10 minutes, you do like half the castle, if not more. So it's really, really efficient. After finishing up Castle Keep, that's where things start to open up a little bit more, in my opinion. There's like a non-zero chance that the correct play is to actually warp back to Alrox's quarters and then go to the caverns immediately. Because you don't necessarily want to do the library right now if you don't have a Form of Mist. So there are some options available to split off here. The Superds get it? Yeah, Superds gets the cutscene skip that Swarm didn't get. That's really good. That little cutscene skip there saves a little bit of time. Superds could be making up some time. The Flea Riders are also helping Superds make up some time. Ooh, Swarm got to be careful. I guess he has enough defense now that it's not terrible. He has a few levels under his belt. He doesn't have literally 0 defense. We should update Nimble such that there's 0 armor equipped. Ooh, not only Eye of Vlad, but also a Monster Vial. Vial stacking is on the table. I think vial stacking in Nimble is kind of a bait. There's very few bosses where vial stacking is faster than just throwing Buffalo Stars, but, you know, whatever. Oh, Superds with a pretty clean wing smash as well. I feel like Superds had a rough start, but is honestly kind of catching up, like, playing well from here. The question is it too little, too late? Is the lead already too large? Swarm's going to have to make a few mistakes, I think. Yeah, trio is probably the correct play. Yeah, trio with the vial stack is probably better. Super's opts to not grab it. Interesting. Yeah, Swarm's doing what I said, by the way, which is warping back to immediately go to caverns. Super's doing the alternate path, which is going all the way and completing the clockwise route. This makes sense if you're caring about density. Oh, I would grab that cross shuriken if I was Super's. Oh, there's a second one. Yeah, okay. Don't give up on it. Yeah, cross shuriken. There you go. You want a second throwable so you can maximize your damage, and cross shuriken's good enough. What is Super's doing? Super's is just completing the clockwise checks here. I mean, these checks are good as well. Like, those item checks are always going to be throwable or use items, so getting a library card would be huge. Because that is the other thing. Getting one library card gives you access to infinite library cards, and that opens up your routing potential so much. So if Super's happens to randomly find one, that could be what he needs to get into the lead here. And he's doing the item checks. Just kidding, he's not doing the item checks. That's like one of the reasons you do this route, but finds nothing. Yeah, that's pretty much like big L right now. Swarm is probably in the correct location, going deeper into the required route, and he's going to do those checks later. This puts Super's in a really awkward spot unless he finds, like, Mist right now, I guess. But even then, I don't know. Because it's like, do you do the shop with no Mist? Or do you just, like, end up skipping the Soul of Bat location later? Because if you have to backtrack for the Soul of Bat location, I feel like it's very rough. Finding a merman could also matter. Yeah, that is true. Gold ring. That's a rando ring. That could matter, actually. Finding a rando ring could matter. That's almost as good as finding merman statue, actually. And Super's opts to skip a library. I actually agree with this play. Did he grab the warp, though? I hope he grabbed the warp. I think skipping library is the correct play here, especially because you just found a random ring. He did grab the warp. Okay, this is actually pretty good. Super's isn't that far behind. He has better map presence with the extra warp, so long as they don't find a library card, because that kind of nullifies that warp. And he has the rando ring, which means if the next progression item in the caverns is silver ring, that means Swarm went down here for basically no reason, because he's going to have to go find the gold ring later anyways. So Super's isn't out of this. He could crawl back and get a comeback mounted here. And also, another thing that's important to note about Nimble, the lower complexity does mean that a lot of the late game high complexity locations aren't nearly as valuable as they are in something like Lycanthrope or something like Safe Logic, because those high value locations are usually like places that are like complexity layer like 7, 8, 9 even. But the minimum complexity here is 6. So sometimes you don't need to go that deep into the complexity to find that stuff. So did you miss any rounds? No, we started on game number 3 because this is the continuation of the set. These players have already played 2 matches. This is the 3rd match they had to reschedule because there wasn't enough time to do all 3 in one day. As you can imagine, doing 3 randomizers back-to-back in one day is a little bit grueling. Not everybody's built for that, and not everybody has the time to do that, especially late in the afternoon. Swarm is skipping Merman. Okay, not a terrible play, considering 2 Vlad relics are found that are random. Still haven't found the complexity item here, though. I guess worst case scenario is you go all the way to Catacombs and find nothing and come back. Oh, Echo. Oh, no, Echo was found at Succubus. So Echo is the complexity relic. Oh, so Spikebreaker is going to be the next relic location. Gotcha. Okay, so now Swarm isn't even worried about skipping a progression relic necessarily. So at worst, he's skipping a Vlad relic, which is worst case scenario, which is a 2...
You steal men's souls.
2 random Vlads left, and it's just like a random location. Interesting. Thank you, St. Virgil, for the sub, by the way. Much appreciated. I appreciate all the support we've had for the tournament and like the streams lately. Speaking of, if you're watching on YouTube, 1, subscribe so you can get more hot randomizer tournament action. And 2, join the live stream so you can watch these races live. The live streams are a lot of fun. You can support your players. You can gamble channel points, your garnet coins, if you will, on whether or not you think who's going to win. For example, the prediction right now. Let's see those odds. %80 believe Swarm is going to win. Meanwhile, Superds does have a reasonable chance to do well here. Oh, Merman statue. That actually means Swarm is in a good spot to backtrack and check the actual Merman statue location later. Meanwhile, Superds is doing it right now. I don't know if I agree with this play. I guess it's more of like a safety thing, right? You're just like, okay, well, my opponent might skip this, but if I check it and it's a random Vlad, I might just win. Maybe Superds is feeling like he needs to... Because in this, it's weird enough to think that this is a gamble now. In the current advancement of the meta... Power of Wolf. You hate to see it. In the current advancement of the meta for the randomizer, that's a gamble. Going to that location and doing the check is a gamble. Because everybody chooses, not everybody, but it's a very common thing to skip, and it most of the time works out if you skip it. So, like I've said before, I won an entire tournament based off of skipping that one location, basically. It was like the one advantage that I needed over Jupiter. And when he beat me in our tournament matches, he ended up skipping that location and I didn't. So it really was whoever skipped a Merman just won, and whoever checked Merman lost. Speaking of Merman, Swarm does have the Merman statue. Did he do Grand Falloon, or is he skipping Grand Falloon as well? I might have short-term memory loss, but he's skipping Grand Falloon as well. What the heck? Maybe he saw Merman statue, so he's like, okay, I'm going to skip Merman, but I'll go back. Sorry, I'll skip Grand Falloon, but I'll go back for Merman statue since I'm coming up this way anyways. Maybe that's his plan. We'll see if he goes to the left right here. He is. That is exactly his thought process. He's like, okay, I'm not gonna skip both, but I can get away with skipping Grand Falloon because I'm coming back this way anyways, so I can do this check, which actually helps out Superds, because Superds did the check and it was nothing. So Swarm is adding on extra time loss that he technically didn't have to have if he committed to skipping this. Yeah, Swarm finds nothing. Yeah, the only punish there is because they found the progression item that's on this layer, the layer that is the Catacombs and Caverns, that was unlocked by Jewel of Open. Once you find one progression item on that layer, you pretty much are guaranteed to be fine. Like, there's very rarely any case where multiple progression items are on the same layer. It can happen, but it doesn't happen super often. So because of that, you can feel pretty safe once you find Merman statue Echo, that the next location was at Spikebreaker, which is where they found Merman statue. Superds is opting to do Grand Falloon. Superds being very careful to check everything, it seems. This in and of itself is an interesting play. Like, you just do as many checks as quickly as you can and just hope that that's the right play and that you hope your opponent skips something important. It can happen. It happened in the prelim matches where someone would skip something that ended up being required and they like lost the race because of it. Oh, but it's literally nothing. Wow. Just goes to show that the power of skipping a handful of checks is enough to save a lot of time. Yeah, skipping Grand Falloon has become a pretty popular skip as well. Because if you've already found the progression item by the time you get to Grand Falloon, you're like, it's probably fine. And there's Form of Mist. Dude, a library card would go so hard right now. However, it's now a 50-50, actually, whether the Soul of Bat location or Silver Ring is the next progression location, because they already have Spikebreaker. Because Spikebreaker was layer 0. So it is a true 50-50. Another thing that's nice for Swarm is Swarm doesn't have to do any backtracking right now. He can just leave from here to go to Outer Wall, which is a crazy route convenience, right? Swarm is obviously going to do Library first. Dude, this works out so well for Swarm. This route is like literally perfect. Super's route isn't too bad either because he decided to skip a library. But he's going to have to backtrack through the Marble Gallery where Swarm didn't have to. So Swarm is just saving time because of that. He also skipped Grand Floon, which is also time save. So this is just a little bit rough for Superds. Again, the way Superds is playing, I don't see left side coming into play here. Maybe Swarm ends up giga-braining himself and doing left side on top of all the gambles he's already been doing. Left side meaning the left side of the second castle. The standard route for randomizers, you usually start by doing Darkwing Bat, and then you go up the right side of the castle where like Medusa, Akmadon, Trio, Beelzebub, those locations are. But some people do opt to go to the left side, which is Darkwing Bat into Creature. And Nimble is actually probably the easiest preset to do left side because you have infinite mana prisms and the best movement possible. So like you can actually mitigate most of the time loss from left side, because left side is really bad when you're missing movement options because there's this stair room where it's like zigzag back and forth. And the most efficient way to get through that room is to wing smash up the stairs back and forth. But we'll see. Swarm isn't even checking Fairy Scroll? Why not? What? I guess you check it on the way out? Same difference? I guess it doesn't really matter when you do it.
I'm interested in this.
Bat card. There was library cards in the shop, yeah.
I'm interested in this.
It's pretty much the only thing you need to buy. $500. Not a bad deal at all.
Farewell for now.
All you need is one. That works out really well for Swarm. I don't think it makes a difference, actually, whether you check Fairy Scroll immediately or not. I just like to do it because it's right there. I guess best case scenario, if you get like Tooth of Vlad there, you increase your strength to maybe kill Lesser Demon faster. But movement-wise, I think it's pretty much the same, probably. Tough to tell. Oh, loses the 50-50. It's at Silver Ring. Like we said, it was a true 50-50. Swarm should be aware of that. Unless he forgot that Spike Breaker was at the start and he skipped it. Because he did skip the Spike Breaker. It's not lit up on his tracker. Yeah, Superds is pretty far behind here. And forced to backtrack. So now things get interesting. I guess Swarm is going to do Fire of Bat maybe. And then warp to Castle Keep or Aurochs to do Silver Ring, where Superds doesn't have to do that. But I mean, Fire of Bat's such a quick check. Swarm does need to grab that gold ring, though. Oh, unless he's skipping Fire of Bat, he might be skipping it. Yeah, no way Superds skips the entirety of the library, but it turns out the library was completely barren outside of that one library card.
Tribute. You steal men's
Zach.
souls and make them your slaves.
Thank you for the 13 months, Zach just died. Appreciate ya. Yeah, it turns out it's my Twitch partner anniversary today. I didn't even realize. We've been partnered for 2 years, I believe. In fact, it was actually my first tournament is what got me partnered in the first place. It helped push me over the view requirements to get partnered on Twitch. So this is my third tournament, which makes sense. So it's my 2 years of being partnered on Twitch. Let's go. Heck yeah. Yeah, Swarm does the extra check, but Superts also gets baited by everything in the library. Did Superts even check the shop yet? Hmm. So, I mean, both players are going to have a library card, but it seems like the final Vlad is probably going to be at Holy Glasses, right? And the random Vlads are just in the second castle, both of them. This Alucard sword drop, not that it matters. So long as Super's actually bought the library card, I wasn't paying attention. So, unless, actually, Silver Ring could be vanilla, Glasses could be vanilla, and then the second castle has 3 Vlad relics, which is possible. Let's see it. Oh, it's Glasses here. Okay. So Silver Ring's in the second castle, which leads to the final Vlad, and then there's 2 random Vlads in the second castle. So now it comes down to who finds the rings plus the Vlads first. It means that left side versus right side doesn't matter nearly as much. Super's opting to come from Auroch's quarters to get to Silver Ring, where Swarm did it from Castle Keep. I actually don't know which is faster and nimble. They're probably about the same distance. I think the only difference is there's less screen transitions for Superds, but an extra warp animation. They're probably about even if you do them well. Uh-oh. Oh, we're back. Oh, and we're back. Does Swarm not know that you can change using the triggers? You can change which item or which equipment type you're hovering over? Because it looks like he deselects and then presses down each time. He's been playing this game for so long. Yeah, you can use the triggers and the bumpers to menu better. To be fair, most players don't even think about fast menuing because it's like not a skill set that's like rewarded that often. So Jeff Q Chen, thank you for the prime. Thanks for the support. We're doing quite well. Subscriber wise, I much appreciate it. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, you could subscribe for free. Isn't that crazy? And I guess if you got, your Prime sub, you could also technically sub for free or at no cost to you for the sub itself. $27.37 is Swarm's second castle entrance time. Thank you for marking that. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. So Swarm does not do the left side gamble. Superds is looking to be about a minute and a half behind. Honestly, not terrible considering they're, 30 minutes into the seed almost. But still a pretty sizable difference. That's my strat. I made it up. Swarm messed it up a little bit, but that's mine. I made that. The backdash into Buffalo Stars, that was me. That's like the one optimization I made to any percent. That's not true. I've made some optimizations. I guess luck mode is kind of like its own... Whatever. I think I've done enough for the game. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah, Super's about a minute and 40 behind. Not looking good. Not looking good. Now, if Super somehow does left side here, he doesn't have it in him. He doesn't got that dog. He doesn't got the dog. You need the dog inside of you to perform left side. We can move from head equipment to armor with the bumpers. I think it's R2, L2. I can't tell you. If I had the controller in my hands and I was playing, I'd be able to do it, but I actually don't remember. My hands know how to do it. My brain doesn't. Does that make sense? But yes, you can swap what you are focusing on using the triggers. One of these days. Because that's the thing. Left side doesn't need to have everything, but it still is a good route. It is the most efficient way to do everything if everything's in the second castle. But I assumed everyone knew about that. To be fair, back in the day, back in like 2016, most everybody was doo-doo dog butt ass at menuing in this game. And then along comes a fantastic speedrunner of this game who showed up, got world records, and then kind of disappeared, aka Mateko, who is more known now, and even back then, for speedrunning a lot of the Final Fantasy series. Because he's an RPG speedrunner, his menuing was insane. He optimized the menus for this game more than like anybody else in like the decade plus of speedrunning, because nobody cared about optimizing menus until he showed up, and then everyone's like, oh wait, that saves like a lot of time if you're like fast at menuing. By the way, left side's looking really good right now. Left side is great because not only do you you can do the left side circle where you go from, granted, it's not amazing to do so, but you can do it, where you skip the warp at castle entrance, and instead you go from Galamoth or Death if you're really feeling spicy, and you skip Galamoth. After those locations, instead you backtrack down the caverns, over to castle entrance, into Inverted Alchemy Lab, and then you do Beelzebub next. It's not the best route ever, but it is an option. And it means that you would be doing Beelzebub around the same time as your opponent doing Beelzebub. Maybe a little bit slower. So if you're worried about Beelzebub having like an important relic, it's like you can kind of like catch your opponent at a similar timing. Because that's another thing that's important about your route is like if you and your opponent are in the same place at the same time, then it comes down to execution, right? So... and Beelzebub does have a random Vlad. Left side wouldn't have been bad here. Storm skip the reverse All Rocks warp. That is bad when you're going back to the first castle. I think a lot of people have their brains melted by Jupiter saying, just skip the reverse All Rocks warp. It's always worth it. And people don't realize that, like, yes, the reverse All Rocks warp is... it only saves a little bit of time in most scenarios when you're in the second castle and you find the last Vlad relic in the second castle. But these players are going to find the last Vlad relic in the first castle. The last Vlad relic is at Holy Glasses. So that's just a misplay by Swarm. That's called drinking the Kool-Aid. Because, don't get me wrong, there are certain routing ideas that are worth considering. For example, there are a lot of known conventions in this game, like, oh, you always do this, or like, oh, we always go right side. And then it turns out the first person to go left side and like steal a race is like, I don't know, maybe this left side thing's a pretty good idea. So people are trying to look for optimizations everywhere and trying to optimize how many warps you grab and like how important those warps actually are. I think that's important research and important to realize, but also the randomizer is very complicated. And you end up in scenarios like this where you tell yourself, oh no, the warp, you actually always skip the warp because it's not necessary in like X amount of scenarios. And then you forget why we got it in the first place. The reason you get it in the first place is because it's right next to the end of the game. So if you need to warp somewhere to get to the end of the game, it's the fastest way to get there. Especially from the first castle. Creature has nothing! Superds. Superds, you've checked literally everything. Please, this is your one chance. Superds, you could steal this race. All you have to do is pull the trigger and skip creature. Creature always has nothing. You know this. You know this deep down in your heart. Creature is always barren. There's only one random Vlad left, actually, so the odds are normal. Creature being the skip is normal. It's the 1 in 5. It's a 20% chance at best that he has the random Vlad, because you know the final Vlad has to be back in the first castle at Holy Glasses. This should be known. Oh, wait, there's progression. Oh, yeah, because they're still missing Silver Ring. So it's only a 33% chance. It's a 2 in 6. It's fine. Or 2 in 5. I'm not good at math. Supers, just skip it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Who cares about math? Math doesn't matter. Math isn't real. Math isn't real. Follow your heart, Supers. Do it. Do it. No! No one's got that dog in them today. At best, Swarm did 1 skip. No dogs. Not a single dog to be found. The only skip Swarm did was Granflin. That's it. Absolutely dogless. If we had Dinner Dog here, Dinner Dog's got that dog in him. Well, there's Silver Ring. So now either Death has the Vlad or Galamoth. Oh, wait. I forgot he hasn't checked this yet. Man, Supers, bro. Great wing smash chain from Swarm right there. Gets the doggy. You'll love to see it. Yeah, these wing smash chains are really tight because if you're too high up, you touch the water and you'll untransform. And if you're too low, you'll get a terrain boost off of the slopes there. Perfect wing smash chain back and forth. Because not only is it tough to, like, obviously chain the wing smash over and over again, but every time you do the wing smash input, you're influencing your height. So having very clean, precise movement on your wing smash chains is really important. Such that you don't, like, change your height too much and then, like, go somewhere you're not supposed to. That's probably going to save him a lot of time unless Supers also is able to perform that. All right, if this is the final Vlad, or I guess the second to final Vlad, then Swarms is... Ooh, okay, it's going to be Galamoth. Interesting. Left side would have went crazy, is all I'll say. Left side would have went crazy. Left side into Beelzebub, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. It's not a bad idea. Consider it. Like, every single time we do a race, we keep seeing this happen. It's crazy. I think Swarm realizes his mistake and grabs this warp instead. I mean, it's fine. It's slower than the other warp, but it'll do, I guess. If he had skipped that warp, I think Supers had a chance. But now it's kind of Jover. Swarm would need to, like, super bad screw... Like, if he screws up the Infinite, I guess, versus Galamoth, he's in trouble and he'll lose a lot of time. That might be enough for Supers to make the comeback. Because that's the thing, is you'll still be able to Infinite Galamoth on the ground, it's just that he has more defense. Like, Swarm is at 0, like, risk of dying necessarily, but... Well, if he keeps getting comboed, then maybe he dies? He'll likely save beforehand if he's playing the safe. Oh, he has to check the $1 room because there is $1 in that candle. No save. Okay. Swarm probably doesn't mess this up. It's pretty easy to do. Yeah, just double Buffalo Star. Bat dash. What? No. You don't do it that way. There's a reason you don't do it that way. Okay. He got lucky. If you do it that way, there's a random chance that Galamoth opens up with the mace shooting the electric balls. They're technically not electric, but the balls at you. The reason why you have to wing smash through him is it baits him into always turning around immediately. So Swarm did have a random chance there to actually just lose the race. So that's also why you always get Power of Mist to prevent that as well in case you mess it up. But yeah, it's... Swarm got lucky. But there it is. Library card from here, and it's pretty much GG. So long as he keeps up this pace, I don't think Swarm has it in him to make the comeback. Or sorry, Superts doesn't have it in him to make the comeback. Swarm is going to need to make a big mistake somehow. He's going to have to forget where Holy Glasses are. Yeah, Swarm's going to have to go to Grand Falloon. Be like, ah, yes, Grand Falloon, the final Vlad relic. Yeah, you're going to go to the All Rocks Warp here, probably. Yeah. And he has a second Castle Warp. Like, if he didn't get any warps at all, then I think Super's... Actually, you know what? If the final Vlad was at Force of Echo, does Swarm get a warp? No. And I think Super's wins. If Force of Echo had the final Vlad, I think Superts would have won. Because Swarm wouldn't have had any teleporter at all. And Superts isn't that far behind. Because the time it takes to go from the start of the second castle to the end of the game is like 3 or 4 minutes, depending on your movement. And Swarm also got lucky on the Galamoth kill. So there was 2 ways that Swarm almost threw this lead, by the way. But we don't live in those universes. We live in the universe where Swarm is like 2 minutes ahead. It would have been close, though. If he didn't get any warps, it would have been really close. If it was Grand Falloon, it'd be over, obviously. No, the Mind's Warp is only about, like, 20 seconds slower at best. Or at worst, I mean. The Mind's Warp's not that bad. It's not ideal. Obviously, the Inverted All Rocks Warp is, like, slightly better, but it's whatever. This is the last race, Chaos Mania. They have already done 2 races before this. This is their 3rd race. Hence why it's 1-1. Yep. Yeah, it's a continuation from the other day. It's a decent warp alternative. I mean, it's not the... I mean, it's the second best warp, I guess. It's better than any other options. Wait. Okay. I was confused for a second, but I'm making up my confusion. It's not real. Yeah, honestly, I find it strange that Superts played so conservatively. Superts did literally every check in the game. I feel like if you get yourself in a nimble race versus Swarm, and choose to check every location in the game, it's like, what if Swarm also does that? Right? Then at that point, you're asking yourself, can you outmaneuver Swarm? Or are you hoping that Swarm skips something important? Right? Like, I'm just wondering from like a game plan perspective, because also like I think it's important when you're doing a race, especially 1v1 races where you can like kind of understand your opponent. Like you have to ask yourself like, what is the meta in this race between me and this other person, right? And Swarm is known for being really good at any percent, right? Being good with movement, good with wing smashes, plays the randomizer a lot too. Has been grinding a lot. So it's like, are you gonna try and outmaneuver Swarm? Just in like a heads up 1v1 kind of scenario? Or are you gonna try and route Swarm? Are you gonna try and make routing decisions that make more sense or that skip certain things with high value, right? I feel like you need to go in with a game plan, especially like in a bracket that's full of this many like fantastic players, you know what I mean? Swarm's game plan made sense to me. It was... Swarm basically did everything I would have done outside of... I would have just probably kept Merman skipped. I probably wouldn't have skipped Grand Floon. I don't like skipping Grand Floon personally, so that probably would have evened out between me and Swarm. I probably would have not... No, I think I would have done the same exact route as Swarm, actually. Outside of that. Because I don't think I would have skipped Creature either. If I was feeling super spicy, maybe I go left side, but left side's kind of a meme right now. I think it could actually be the new meta in a lot of scenarios, but it feels a little gambly. It feels a little cheesy, right? So yeah, overall, I think Swarm's route was... Oh, I would have also gotten the All Rocks Warp instead of the one in the mines for no reason, but whatever. Still, all things considered, not that far off of a race. I think the main time difference was Swarm did one relic skip, and I had a slightly more efficient first castle by warping and going to the caverns early. I do think left side right now is kind of just a means of like, if you want an upset, I think you go left side. And also, if you have multiple relics, I think left side is just good. If you have multiple missing relics, I think left side could just be good. Because you're guaranteeing yourself the most amount of checks that your opponent does not have faster than your opponent, assuming they go right side. And the density kind of makes up for itself later. So it's not even like you're hurting in the density department. And then the only downside is you're missing out on the All Rocks Warp. But as we saw from Swarm, you can just get the warp in the caverns. It's like almost as good. So like, if you're gonna get that warp anyways, just do left side. Left side sounds great, right? Either way, Swarm cleans it up with a relatively close race, not terribly far. I think Supers ended up making up more time than we initially thought, because he was over 2 minutes behind. But from this position, he's not 2 minutes behind anymore.
Always skip Grand Floon. Always skip Grand Floon.
Sure, whatever, Swarm. Nice. GG's Swarm getting a little bit of trash talking on his end after the race. That was a good race, though. 48-minute seed, not bad for a pretty lengthy seed, all considered, for Nimble. Really could have went either way with one or two different decisions, or if Grand Floon happened to have a random Vlad, like things probably would have went differently. But if I'm Supers, I'm not too upset about my performance there. Like, especially when you're going into a Nimble race versus Swarm, that sounds tough, you know? But yeah, this was a lot of fun. YouTube, please subscribe, join the live stream, twitch.tv/DragonBlitz. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll have more tournament matches soon. Bye-bye, YouTube.